Well, good morning, my beautiful coffee beans. I'm Bullhorn Betty. We've been covering the case of Miss Nancy Guthrie, 84-year-old grandmother ripped out of her bed by a masked gunman. We are hearing from the sheriff, the criminal sheriff of Pima County. You know, the ones that like violating people's rights when he's not getting his way? That sheriff keeps telling us we'll find him. And he's positive about the case. But is he? Before we get started on Nancy Guthrie, we are going to step back in time and understand what is going on with governments attacking freedom of speech in some of the most untouchable areas, such as clergymen and people of the cloth preaching out in the street. We have people ticketing them and arresting them across this country. That's a clear violation of First Amendment. So how can people have a badge and a gun and not have an idea, the Constitution in which they are to protect and support? We're getting into all that, including my own activism. About 15 minutes, we're going to be going over my own activism yesterday at our county. I show you guys this because I want you all to be involved. So good morning. I'm Bullhorn Betty. This is the Bullhorn Betty channel. This is the Bullhorn Betty Show, and thank you for all being here.
Bullhorn Betty rocks.
So grab your beverage, get comfy, while we talk about these serious discussion topics.
Coffee steaming, files on the table. We clocking early, hunt what's unstable. Bullhorn Betty on the curb, voice raised. Flip-flop queen with the homemade phrase. Notebook thick, got the screenshots flag. Names in red ink, every rumor, every tag. Late night live stream, screen glow on her face. Truth in her throat, got a lawman's pace. She don't blink when the threats roll through. Come see me, she says, if you think that's cute. Bullhorn Betty in the coffee club. We hunt bad guys till the sun comes up. From the front porch steps to the courthouse rug. We fighting for the ones that they gave up. Bullhorn Betty in the coffee club. Sip that truth from a styrofoam cup. From the quiet streets to the madhouse buzz. We ain't letting go till we get that justice. Insane Asylum, that's our crew nickname. Laugh so loud while we track these names. Whiteboard wild with the webs we spin. Pen to pen, see the pattern sink in. Turmo shaking when the case goes cold. We stir it back up, won't do what we're told. Doorstep question, side eye stare. Where were you that night? We hanging right there. Bullhorn Betty in the coffee club. We hunt bad guys till the sun comes up. From the front porch steps to the courthouse rug. We fighting for the ones that they gave up. Bullhorn Betty in the coffee club. Sip that truth from a styrofoam cup. From the quiet streets to the madhouse buzz. We ain't letting go till we get that justice. This for the faces on the milk cart labels. This for the families praying at tables. This for the names that the news won't say. We say them out loud every single day. Every day. If you're running in the dark, better feel that fear. Betty got a bullhorn right in your ear. Coffee club crazy, but we think so clear. One small town, whole world gonna hear. Hey! Bullhorn Betty in the coffee club. We hunt bad guys till the sun comes up. From the front porch steps to the courthouse rug. We fighting for the ones that the day gave up. Bullhorn Betty in the coffee club. Sip that truth from a styrofoam cup. From the quiet streets to the madhouse buzz. We ain't letting go till we take red justice.
Well, good morning, my beauties. My beauties, it is nice to see you. I'm Bullhorn Betty. We are covering the case of Miss Nancy Guthrie, but before we start into the case of Nancy Guthrie, I want to say good morning to as many of you as I can. We're already getting a packed house, and we're going to be discussing about the freedoms of press and freedoms of speech and how those things are being eroded by these law enforcement bodies that are trying to find creative ways to stop our speech. You will be a failure. Chris Nanos is a failure for doing this to 3 YouTubers. I have been arrested for my speech and me conducting my business in a community for a missing child. And I'm going to tell you, there's going to be a point in time when we have enough. I'm actually thinking about creating an organization to combat this, because it's such a wide, it's across the board in such a wide range, and we can't rely on the ACLU, which is the American Civil Liberties Union. We can't rely on them because they only take certain cases. They don't really care about freedom of speech. They only care about the speech that they deem is appropriate for saving. So I just want to make sure that we stop funding the ACLU. I want to make sure that they stop getting grants to the ACLU. I'm going to actually be an advocate against the ACLU. I do not agree with them. Do they help? Sometimes they do. But I don't like their selection process. I don't like which cases that they're choosing to go after, because they're choosing to go after things that are anti-Trump instead of we the people. And so I want to start pulling back stuff. We need to have things, whether you agree with the president or not. We're not going to get into that political debate. The bottom line is when we give grants out to organizations, we expect them to help everybody, not just a select few. And when they start only catering to a select few, it's time to pull the funding, because they said they were here for all of us, and they are not. Clearly, they are not. So I'm going to be a staunch advocate to pull funding from the ACLU. So I just thought I'd throw that out there, because some people are, pro ACLU and would be anti Bullhorn Betty if they knew I was going to be doing that. So I believe that the approach is always honesty, whether it lose viewerships or whatever. I stand on my hill. I am a strong, independent woman, and I do things that I think are the right thing to do, not the popular thing to do, and not things that are going to get me a click and a view. So if we lose viewership over it, we lose viewership over it. But you guys know I'm an activist, and I'm an activist for we the people. Okay, not big government, not ideologies, nothing. What is in the best interest of the majority of us? That's the only thing I care about. And some people are going to be on minority sides of the issue, and it's going to piss them off. But at the end of the day, I think it's super important. So let's get started on another angle. And this is kind of related to abortions and things like that. But it's not about it is about the messaging, but it's about the right to have the messaging. And I think this clearly states it, because they don't get into all of the nuances. They get into the points of why it's a violation of their rights. And we can apply this. This is the best I found so far. But we can apply this to what they did to the 3 YouTubers in this case with Nancy Guthrie. It's because it's the violation of your speech. And whether you agree with this, and I challenge everybody here, whether you agree with talking points or not, the point is we the people, we American citizens, have a right to speak it. And if you believe we have the right to speak it, you've got to challenge yourself to protect that speech, even when it's speech you don't want to hear. Okay? That is when you need to be protecting that speech the most, because there will be a time when somebody doesn't want to hear your speech, when somebody doesn't want to hear your words. And whether they like it or not, we should be supporting your right to speak, just like you should be supporting somebody else's right to speak. Again, whether we agree with the speech or not, it's not about the speech itself. It's about whether we're entitled to speak it. And yes, we are. All of us, including the 3 YouTubers out there in Pima County. This is so similar, and I think you guys will be able to take the topic and push it aside for the overall message in this. I just thought this, I know it's on a hot topic, so I was kind of challenging myself, like, should I show this one? But this one really hit it home for me as far as the talking point that I'm trying to get to, the violation of speech.
I have a right to do that.
No, you don't.
You're violating my First Amendment. Well, you can tell your city attorney to send an officer down here and write up a charge if he wants.
So I went to my car and I got some signs and put my signs out as the others were being collected. And he went to remove them, and I said, "You're not going to do that." I said, "I have a right to do this." And he said, "No, you don't."
I'm not going to cooperate and just give up my freedoms. Why would I do that?
The signs help us get our message out to the public to show what's going on here. It helps the moms see things like free baby supplies. You know, it helps them know that there's help. They don't have to go through with this.
What was happening to Brandon is unfortunately something that's all too common today around this country. Pro-life protesters, sidewalk counselors, street evangelists.
I want you guys just to remove all of that language and just say protesters and independent journalists. Just put in place of what he just said, protesters and independent journalists. It all applies the same way.
Are being silenced by local governments who are abusing normal, facially neutral sound ordinances, public disorder laws. Those are being weaponized, turned into tools to silence dissident voices like those who are protecting the unborn.
So rather than a neutral ordinance, this...
Or those covering Nancy Guthrie's case. You guys see why I grabbed this? Because it squarely talked about the weaponization of normal local ordinances and laws being weaponized to silence people in our country. And this, like I told you, this was not just toward Pima County. They tried to intimidate me in Sumner County. And so the team, we had Sebastian's Army, which was like 20,000 deep. And so they started calling every facet of the government. And as a byproduct of that, they got $200 million ripped out of their budget. Like the state of Tennessee was pissed at all of this coming to their front door, especially so close to an election season. They ended up pulling $200 million out of that county, which should have been a clear message to that community, but it was not. And so we've been fighting that community ever since. And it is this, if it's happened in a red county and it's now happened in a blue county, we can absolutely see that this is something that the government is weaponizing against people that have a right to be there, have a right to speak, have a right to record, have a right to their constitutional rights and civil liberties. And they are constantly being violated by the governments that are hired to serve us. And that comes back into some of the activism that I have done yesterday. And I wanted to show you guys this because yesterday I ended up going to the mattress. I ended up going to the mattress for some causes. They tried to create another tax and put another tax on our voting, our ballot. It approved. Even after me slamming my hands down, it approved. Of course it did. Of course it did, because our county is trying to we're about to get rid of our property taxes here, which we should. And so I think that our county is working overtime to try to find other revenue sources, and they're doing it all wrong, much like a lot of stuff they do. So this is not directly related to that just now. This is, I think, I don't even know what this one's about, but I spoke 5 times yesterday. You can hear some people clapping. I forgot that they have low or soundproof microphones, so you really only hear the person. But there was some booing in the back, like to the dais. Like all of my county commissioners up there were being booed by the audience. Like George, every time he opens up his mouth, I think he hears the county. We're tired of George. George, you're making poor decisions, and you think you're right all the time. You're not. For fuck's sake, you're not. Is this not on? Oh, sorry.
Failed miserably.
Oh, yeah. This is about the animal shelter. You guys know we've been talking about the stupid animal shelter. They screw up the... Anyways, let me just get on with this. Let's just get on with this.
Andrew Griffin, Manatee County activist and advocate. And the bottom line is, George, this was your project. You failed. You failed miserably. You refused to take accountability for the abysmal failure out here at Bishop's. And then you're condescending to the people that want to help the animals. And you do
This is
things
my
like,
activism,
oh,
folks.
well, we're listening to the people, so they said they want shade, so we're putting in shade, $1.4 million because we're listening to the people. No, you're not. No, you're not. You're being condescending and you're doing what you think works. You're not listening to the people. This has cost this county and the residents in this county ungodly amounts of money. And you're talking about doing this again at 2.0 out east? You've got to be crazy. The animal activists know that I don't think that this is the responsibility of the taxpayers in this community. I don't.
I didn't have time to clarify. I'm talking about the adoption and the care of our dogs and cats. I'm not talking about the county's required responsibility to go and trap animals that are wild, sick, loose, endangered and stuff like that. That is absolutely a core responsibility of our government. I'm talking about the adoption and sale of animals, okay? A business model. That's what I'm talking about, is not in the role of government.
I don't think it's the responsibility is not with our government. This should be a nonprofit. A nonprofit ran Bishops for a long time. A nonprofit runs a lot of our animal welfare stuff here in this county as is, and this is something we need to offload. This is not working out right. It's costing us umpteen millions of dollars, and a nonprofit would do it 100 times better. 100 times better, and we know that they would actually give a crap about the animals.
So there's one. That's for animals. This is for this is the spicy one. I came unglued on this one. This one you guys will like. Oops, let me make sure I got my volume up.
Andrew Griffin, Manatee County activist. You guys know where I'm going to be on an extra tax. We have a conservative board here. We have Republicans on this board. Republicans mean less taxes, less government intrusion. It seems like something you guys don't seem to understand. I'm starting to wonder, are you guys rhinos? Democrats? I mean, I'm just curious here because every time I come here, we have
You can't hear it, but behind me, there was a bunch of people going, ooh, right? And you guys know I'll use that. I'll use whatever I got to do whatever I need to do. So at the end of the day, we have ideological differences in our representation of people being Democrats or Republicans. Democrats want, more government, help, more, avenues of help. And we're kind of like, we want less government. We feel like you won't need the help if the government took their foot off your neck. That's just, it's different ideologically. That's all it is, pretty much. We want less government. They want a little more government. That's, and so that's the way the whole stuff was. So we never really argued over the stuff we're arguing right now about. We've always just, argued over policy. Like, do we really need government involved in this, or do we not? It's always been those types of arguments. Now the government is just, they're talking about all types of shit that we don't need. But this is where I get spicy, but yeah.
Tax that Tal, you keep supporting. You supported a new tax for the sheriff. You keep supporting new taxes for the people here in this county when we're trying diligently. Let me do this. How many people in this jurisdiction right now are happy with the direction of this county? Raise your hand if you're happy with the direction of this county.
Why, George? Why?
This should tell you guys everything you need to know. You guys are not listening to us. I supported you, George. I supported you, Mike. Amanda, I supported you. Tal, I supported you. Jason, I supported you. And Bob, I supported you. Every one of you, I have supported for this board. You guys are a disappointment every time I come up here. More money, more money, more money. We, the people, are saying less money, less money, less money. But somehow you guys think $1 million kitchens are where our money needs to be. Amanda, this is you. Enough. Enough with the taxes. We're taxed out in Manatee County.
again, got a little spicy up there. As you can see, not much happier throughout the day. Been there, I was there for over 11 hours yesterday. 11 hours. 11 hours because I screamed at him all day and I felt it was necessary for me to be there in the evening to wrap it all up. I don't even know if I want to hear that one and if I want to hear this one. I think this is the one I want to hear. Is this the right one? I think this is it. No, that's the Grace Project. Adoption of animal millage. Oh, good gracious. Oh, and they tried to get us with 2 millages. You guys just heard about that one. This one's for another animal millage, right? This is for another animal millage. And the animal millage, they wanted to do another $75 million for us to put on the ballot to tax ourselves again. And I just want to tell everybody out there that's dealing with government, you don't need to pay for an additional tax. You don't need to put another initiative on your ballot. You know, all you need to do is force your politicians to go do a resolution that says your current millage that they're collecting, they're going to take XYZ millage and apply it to conservation land, or XYZ millage will be totally designated for animal services. You don't need to put those initiatives on the ballot and tax yourself additional money. You can just force your county commission to vote it in with the taxes they're currently collecting to set that aside for those necessary purchases. But all too often, they manipulate people into thinking that they have to vote for a tax in order to get that initiative done. And that's exactly what they did yesterday at the county with 2 additional presentations to put additional tax on the people. And we have a 100% Republican board, which if you're a Democrat, you understand we don't like taxes, okay? I'm sorry, right? That's not, you know, like crazy news. Nobody's worried about whether we like taxes or they want to tax. I mean, if you guys want to pay taxes, pay taxes. I'm not the one to argue with you about it. But people like me, we don't want to pay it. We want our government out of our county.
Andrew Griffin, Manatee County activist and advocate. So I'm glad we're not going for the millage, but this is what I've got to say. Why can't we do a vote? Why can't we say, hey, we're going to take 1.6 mils of our current millage and assign it to conservation purposes? Why can't we say we're going to take a half a millage? Why can't you guys just vote on it, just to take it out of our current budget and put it toward these things? Why do we have to put it on a ballot and vote to tax us even more when you guys have a report that says you have waste, fraud, and abuse of $120 million? Now, if we were to take that $120 million and take $75,000 and put it toward conservation,
from them.
Well, we don't even need to add a tax or put it on the millage, because they have the authority right here to vote right now to say, hey, XYZ taxes from our current millage can go to conservation. XYZ taxes from our current millage can go to animal services, and those would be direct funded because they all voted on them, and we would never have to put this on a ballot amendment, nor would we have to tax ourselves one single extra penny. So give us our money back, put the ordinance in for the millage, and don't even put it on the ballot. Let's just take it out of our general fund now. We have it.
So again, Saucy, is this the one? Oh no, this is after. Oh, this is the kitchens.
2 kitchens.
Oh my gosh, guys. We're paying for 2 kitchens. 1 kitchen. Listen to this. And this is the crap that's going on all over this country. I'm going to get over to Miss Nancy Guthrie, but this was from my yesterday. I was there for 12 hours. You guys are going to listen to it. Whether you like it or not, before we get into this. We purchased 2 freaking kitchens. 2 kitchens. We spent $1 million on 1 kitchen for 40 individuals. I about fell over. I'm pissed. Okay? Yesterday, there is no other word for me than pissed. Pissed at my government, pissed at them just taking our money and just thinking that it just grows on trees and just doling it out. Two kitchens. One was for Easter seals, which, guys, listen, I'm all for Easter seals. I'm all for nonprofits, and we give them a siphon every single single year of $10,000 or $20,000 of taxpayer money to help support their efforts. But that is a nonprofit, and that's philanthropy. That is not a core responsibility of government. Okay? I don't care, where your heart is, but if nonprofits want to be nonprofits, they're nonprofits. They need to go find money. Okay? There are many grants that the federal government give out. Okay? But we have one roof. I'm sorry, I'm not building $1 million kitchens. I would rather take and build 1,000 small kitchens for disadvantaged homeowners than I would wanting to put $1 million kitchen into one nonprofit serving 40 people. That is a waste of our money. I do love Easter Seals. They are a great organization. They are a great organization. I can love an organization and still say that my taxpayer money should not be spent $1 million on a kitchen. Okay? I'm sorry. That's not a core responsibility of our government. We need to get back to the core responsibility of our government. And our government is protecting us, and half of us are going unprotected, yet we have $1 million to put in frickin' kitchens. It's not a kitchen for our schools. It's not a kitchen for our people. It's not a kitchen for the homeless population. It's not a kitchen for the vets. It is a kitchen for a nonprofit, but it has to be reasonable. And again, it's a nonprofit. We give out federal grants to nonprofits. There is no reason why taxpayer money, other than what we are contributing to them, need to go toward them. If they need a new kitchen, they need to find a way. And they can't keep coming to the taxpayers for the money. Otherwise, we're the philanthropists instead of them, yet we're not getting the tax credit. So let's not get it twisted here. I love these organizations. I think they're great organizations. I want these organizations in my community. But I do not think it's the responsibility of the taxpayers to give them $1 million kitchen. I'm sorry, I just don't. They serve more communities than just ours.
Please come on up.
Andrew Griffin, Manatee County Act.
And this was our infrastructure tax. I want to remind everybody that this was a block grant that was for we the people, okay? These are for we the people. And again, I just want everybody to understand I love Easter Seals. I donate to them, not very much, but $20 a year. But I donate to Easter Seals. I've been donating to them for years, okay? I will tell you I love their organization. This has nothing to do with whether I think that their organization should go forward. I absolutely think it should. They provide a great service to the community. Easter Seals, I don't want to explain what Easter Seals is. They help a lot of people. It's not just them. They help our elderly. They help it's a major American nonprofit organization that provides essential disability services, autism care, and support for veterans and caregivers. They've been founded and funded since 1919, but what people don't understand is, yes, they are a good organization, but they're also riddled with, their percentages, right? How much percentage is going to their top executives versus community support? Now, Easter Seals is good. They do have a lot of volunteers. And again, I want people to donate to them. I want people to support their organization, but it's not the core responsibility of any type of government. Okay, we need to get back to the fundamentals of government. And when I found out that we were
government is not very innovative.
That's it. Let me pull that. Sorry, I must have been done with mine. I came back to it. So let's just go over this Easter Seals project. Yeah.
Activist. Is it the responsibility of our government to be installing kitchens? 2 kitchens, $500,000 going to kitchens. Kitchens. Easter Seal under one roof, you think it's the taxpayers' money. That's our responsibility, is to install kitchens.
And guys, it wasn't $500,000. We found out that this was our second payment. That one of those under one roof, it was $1 million kitchen. And it was $1 million kitchen that only services 40 people. I want that to sink in for you. Under one roof is only servicing up to 70 people. And we just purchased $1 million kitchen for them. $1 million kitchen. Do you think that's the core responsibility of our government? Do you think that with all the stuff that we've got going on in each of our counties that we need to be paying $1 million for? And this is just one of the kitchens. We purchased 2. Good Lord, no. Exactly. I think everybody can agree that is absolutely insane. And guys, you know, I'm pointing this out because this is going on in your community too. And you're probably saying, oh, hell no, we ain't paying for kitchens. I guarantee you, go look under the hood. You've already paid your spot, bought a few kitchens yourself. No lie. No lie. This is Grace. And then where's my wrap up? I have a wrap up video. Let me just put it over here. I've got a wrap up video. I'll put it on here and we'll just watch it on here. Let me see where my next spot is. Let me go over here. I've got some media spots over here that we can use. Oh, which one's this one?
Hey guys, thanks so much for checking.
Yeah, we can use this one. All right, we can use this one. Let me change the properties. It's probably going to hiccup. I actually think we did pretty stinking well today as far as technical issues. I had a lot of technical issues. Is that Omni? I don't think that's Omni. Which one is that? Yes, that is Omni. Okay. And this is the last one. I want you guys to see this because I did tone it down. I screamed at him all day and I felt bad, you know, and I really did. I did feel bad. So here's, let me make sure that this has some type of sound to it. Looks like I'm going to have to activate it before I can get the sound to it. Monitoring enable.
Griffin, Manatee County activist, advocate. I'm exhausted.
Oh, they changed some settings. Did you guys hear that?
You guys had an opportunity to see the dismay of a lot of people in our community.
Let me take my cranium out.
And I'm hoping that you guys reflect on this because there's a lot of anger in this community. There's a lot of people showing up and you guys know it. This is probably, we sat outside of this dais for over over an hour before we were even.
Can you guys hear that?
Because it was so packed. Now, I just want you guys to reflect on this because I'm angry. When you start taxing us out the wazoo, you know, my blood pressure is going to go through the roof. I'm going to throw a fit up here at this dais. You know that. You guys have seen me for years. When it comes to pulling money out of our pockets, you guys know I'm going to throw a fit. So I think that we need to slow down. We got a lot of angry residents. With the building, with the taxation, I know we're all scared. We don't know what this 3 is going to do to this county. I get it. You know, we're all kind of, I mean, come on. I mean, I've been doing this stuff for years. I'm biting my nails too. Where are we going to pull the money? How are we going to tax this? How are we going to pay for that? I get it. But I think we need to slow down and not have knee-jerk reaction. Knee-jerk reactions always get us in trouble. It always happens, and we always do it. You know, board after board, we something happens, we have knee-jerk reactions. I think the path of the proper path to go is just to slow down. Everything doesn't need to be I look at these agendas and I'm seeing, you know, oh, we're on a timeline here. We're on a timeline. We need this done this week. Why didn't you bring it 2 months ago or 3 months ago so we could prepare for it? So everything is always going to need to be done yesterday. And I'm just going to ask you, my future agenda is just, let's slow it down. Just bring it in, slow it down, bring down the temperature of this county because we're all feeling it, all of us. I'm feeling it. Glenn's feeling it. You guys are getting booed out here. So, I mean, something's got to give here. So I hope you guys start getting reflective and start, digging deep inside of yourselves and figuring out what is the direction of this county. And I hope you guys start implementing it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Close public comment. And
so that was the last. I was literally the last speaker of the day. I mean, there was no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I was the absolute last speaker of the day. You know, if you guys want to know if I ever get the last word in, I don't get the last word in very often, but I did that day. I did yesterday and the only reason why is it was so damn packed. It was so packed there at the county. I've never had to sign in before. I've never had to sign in or fear not having an opportunity to speak. Well, yesterday it was so packed that me not signing in because I go there every week was just like, I was dumbfounded. I'm like, I might not be able to speak today. Oh, hell to the nah. I would have been speaking. I mean, you guys, if you guys watched that meeting, there were several times that they stopped the meeting. I thought I was going to be thrown out, I'll be honest with you, because I got into it with George in the aisle, you know. I did get in some back and forth because he was trying to argue the animal millage right after they did the trying to present the conservation amendment to our ballot, and they're trying to add another one for the animals. I'm telling you, yesterday I was pissed. I was in a dress. They were lucky I was in a dress, because I'm telling you, if I had my running shoes on, I don't know what I would have done. But it might have been something like, we've got a lady, she's fleeing to elude law enforcement. She smacked the shit out of one of our county commissioners, and she's on the run. Like, that was about what it was about to be yesterday. I swear, I was pissed. Come on now. Why you ain't working? Now my buttons aren't working either? The hell? Be darn, I've never had my big buttons not work before. They're not working. Wonder if it's going to screw up my system if I hook it up. Big buttons coming. There we go. This wouldn't work. All right, now we're done with that. I spent 38 minutes on me, so now it's going to be talking about... It was about activism. Sometimes you just got to go out there, and I hope you guys get involved. Okay, at the end of the day, it's about, I don't present this up here for an attaboy or kudos or anything like that. I as you guys seen, I got plenty of applauses yesterday. I'm perfectly fine and comfortable with that. That was a little unnecessary. I don't like the clap. I gotta be honest with you. The whole clapping in the dais, I mean, I've been there for a decade. We're not allowed to do it. And hearing people all of a sudden start doing it, it's a little unnerving for me, because I feel like everybody's going to be, kicked out, and I'm ready to go around. Don't clap. So I don't clap, but I did get engaged, because they were like, oh no, they were screaming at George, and so I engaged in that a little bit. Yesterday it was insane. It was insane. Today I have a speaking engagement tonight at the Lakewood Ranch Public Library. If anybody's in Manatee County, Sarasota County that watches this show, if you guys would like to come out and learn a little more about your government, a little more about the comp plan here in Manatee County, we are welcoming anybody and everybody that would like to come out and show up out there this evening. So we got some speakers, we've got an event, and if you guys would like to come out and in our local, please come out and attend. All right, enough about me. Now we're going to get on to the Nancy Guthrie case and Chris Nanos, the criminal sheriff of Pima County. I've been calling him a criminal sheriff of Pima County since this case, well, not since this case began, because we liked the sheriff for the first interview. By the second interview, we're like, what did he just say? After the second press conference, we're like, okay, we got a problem with this guy, right? So we went from, oh, I don't want to be mean to him, to, okay, we got a problem with this guy. And then we had the manipulation of him lying to us and constantly telling us information and then constantly bringing it back in. And we're going to be going over some details of Savannah Guthrie. There's still some unsettled frustration from the public. I've been reading a lot of frustration. Thank you, pretty little clues. Before we get started, thank you. I'm glad I saw your name. I did want to give credit. I forgot to give credit the other day. It's nice to see it. If one of my mods can put her link, her pretty little clues link down into the chat, I greatly appreciate it. I got some photo and some information from somebody, and by the time I threw together the broadcast and the live stream, I forgot who gave it to me. And typically I don't give credit to people unless they specifically ask for it, and I do that because I've been yelled at so many times. People sent me some stuff, and I said who sent it to me, and they didn't want to be known. So just for future, for anybody that sent me, I got to remember that I got to constantly say that. Let me know if I can use your name. So pretty Pretty Little Clues is a content creator, which is, and I went over and looked at her channel, really cool stuff. So definitely love the support that she gives the Bullhorn Betty channel. And likewise, we love new content creators getting attention as well. So she's part of the family, Pretty Little Clues, right there. One of my mods will find her channel and get that put up in the chat. She's the one that gave us our hat, gave us our conversation, is the one that sent me. Let me find that photo real quick, and then we'll change it back to this one. Is this going to sit right down here? This photo right here, right, of the guy. Remember, we just talked about that, and I said, you know, now that I see it, it's kind of hard to unsee it. Anyways, it was Pretty Little Clues that sent this over. So definitely doing some stuff. Absolutely. I'm very, very sorry that I did not give you credit where credit was due. But in all fairness, I didn't even know it was you that sent it to me. I mean, I'm sure it's in the email, but by the time I put the show together, I didn't even think. So I do apologize about that, but we're definitely grateful for all the coffee club that participates and helps us, you know, with talking points like this. This is a very interesting revelation in my humble opinion. So very interesting stuff, but we will, I'm very glad for the topic point as well. So get on over, check her channel out, and I'm sure you will not be dissatisfied or unsatisfied with your contribution to her channel. I'm not a good salesperson. But we love it. We love it. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much, Pretty Little Clues. We appreciate you. We appreciate you. So getting on with this, you know, still in the same realm of suspect, right? That was talking about another aspect of the show, you know, and of this case, and it was the first image, the January 11th image. And trying to connect the dots, because I truly believe, I just don't think people are giving January 11th its consideration, its due, right? Aw, thank you guys. You guys are so, so sweet. We appreciate you. Popcorn too. Don't forget Popcorn Planet. Also another, where did you find that picture? Aw. I need coffee before I crazy today. 1166. Welcome to the coffee club, where coffee is on tap. It should be 24/7. My mom comes over here, she's like, you got some coffee? I'm like, yeah. Duh. Yeah. Is it warm? Yeah. Duh. There's warm coffee in this house 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, okay? You come over here asking me, do you have coffee? It's like going to a sub shop and asking them if they have a sandwich. I'm just saying, okay? So we've got some new indicators here. Chris Nanos is saying that the case is still active, that they're going to find this guy, you know? And many of us out here are kind of, I mean, I'm never hopeless in these investigations. In all fairness, I'm just not. So I do believe there is a path forward. I always believe there's a Hail Mary in every case. And as a matter of fact, all of our unsolved cases, I think, is people just falling a little short of something that we have, you know, that they had in their possession, custody, and control. Because some of these older cases hinged on, you know, they had the blood, but they didn't have the DNA. You know, they had the blood typing. They could tell it was mom's blood typing, you know, but they didn't have the necessary technology at that time for beyond a reasonable doubt. And so many people went without being charged. And now we have this incredible technology known as DNA, and we have different profiles in DNA. We have the S&P profile. They have some other types of I think I'm so familiar with the S&P because we talk about it so much with the IgG. But there are different variations of different DNA testings that are standard. The S&P is not really standard. It's not the one that's used in our labs. It's it needs to be converted to S&P for the IgG. But at the end of the day, from my understanding, you know, well, originally my understanding was we had like no DNA. Like we had a glove right? And we had a mixture that was going to take forever to, if ever could ever be separated. It was going to take a really long time, maybe a year, maybe longer. And according to CC, she believes that means that this is a mixture of more than 3 people, because a mixture of 2 people is fairly common, that they can separate fairly easy. But when you start complicating with a 3rd profile, you get a little more complicated. And a 4th profile, you even get more complicated. So this gives you an idea that this has to have more than 3 profiles, in the opinion of CC. CC she's kind of like the expert, like the gold standard of IgG. She fought very, very hard for her skill, the investigative genetic genealogy aspect of things, and nobody really took her seriously until they had their first breakthrough where they identified a suspect in a crime. IgG became well known by Brian Kohberger. It was well talked about. Many people that didn't hear about IgG previously was definitely learning about IgG for the first time during the Idaho 4. Well, now IgG is kind of the standard. You know, when you get DNA and you can go to these databases that allow law enforcement to search them and have all of the necessary disclosures on that site for law enforcement to search, well, there's not a whole lot the courts can do, right? And at this point, they're doing it the right way. They're not using like ancestry DNA. They're using a DNA that people physically go and put their profile in there for specifically law enforcement to search. There are activists in that realm. You know, they're just normal people. Like, if anybody in my bloodline's a murderer, well, here, let me give you my so you can find them. We don't want that kind of stuff. We don't believe in violence. Many people are like that. I'd be like that, right? I have my DNA. I didn't know that Heritage DNA, that they don't work with law enforcement. So I have to upload my profile into a different system if I want law enforcement to use my DNA for anything in the future. But it's a choice that I choose to make, and it's my decision to make it. So I like that whole design where, you know, we the people have a right to go take our profile and stick it in there to help law enforcement if we so choose. And that's a tool that they can use, and we voluntarily did that. I love that. I love that. But at the end of the day, that nobody knows who this guy is. No DNA has come back. We only knew about these couple little stuff of, you know, these little spots of DNA. I believe there was more DNA. And I even said, you know, I stopped our audience and proposed the question. And I believe I did it around March or April, where I'm like, do we believe that this is the only DNA? Because they keep talking about DNA and you only think that there's just this one thing. Like in Brian Kohberger, there really was only one profile of DNA on that snap, that sheath, right? The knife sheath. Some transfer of his DNA on that knife sheet, probably popping the button up. He transferred some of his DNA on that snap of that button, and they were able to get a profile from it. Anything short of that, there wasn't a whole lot of talk about any other DNA in that house, was there? We don't know, because we never went to trial. None of those factors ever had to be disclosed to the public. But we do know about the knife sheath. And if that was literally the only thing in that house, because he prepared himself so well from head to toe with the coverings over his face and mouth and mask and everything like that, the balaclava, the gloves, the knife, you know, he had that checklist to make sure he wasn't transferring any of his DNA in that crime scene, and he left this knife sheath that had this one molecule of his DNA on it, and they were able to get a profile from that. That was really all we had known about. Well, we know from Chris Nanos that there was one spot in here that might be ripe for DNA. Well, that's not true. We ended up finding out later, months later, that there's a hair that they knew about. That was another source of DNA that they didn't tell about. So they said that they found a glove. There was a news cycle that said the glove was found inside the home, and that wasn't true. Chris Nanos says, look, the DNA on the glove was never found inside the home. So that was the first time we knew that there must have been some other DNA source inside that home besides the glove. And then that's when we found out there was a mixture. And then it wasn't months later that we found out that there was a hair at that scene without a follicle, without a root to it, that makes it more difficult to find out what who that belongs to. So everything that we were hearing forensically from the sheriff was looking meager and meek at best, right? It was looking very concerning for somebody that wants a case to be solved and resolved. Hearing those details about all the problems we're having with the profiles, the DNA profiles, was disappointing, right? We have a mixture, we have a hair without a root. These are not a prime for DNA results. These are going to give us a lot of problems with the results. So we feel like we're losing on the forensic front from everything we're hearing. And then we see the mat on the outside of the door still there, that we know that Miss Guthrie and the assailant stepped on. It's just, it keeps going from one concerning issue to another concerning issue when it comes here. And then every time we turn around, we hear Chris Nanos in this positive light saying, oh, the case is still active and we're going to get the guy. And at this point, and quite frankly, in all fairness, in a case like this, it really is too soon. I mean, yeah, we would like to have the bad guy behind bars, but I've been looking at a lot of cases, and this is what kind of, made me question, like Sebastian's. We're not typically used to having arrest appearance until we're in the year range, right? 12 months, 17 months. Then you start hearing about the arrests because now stuff, reports are coming in, test results are coming in, the reports of the towers, the movements of the car, all that is being in conjunction with one another, being put on this so somebody can clearly see what everything is. So by, these months later, then we start getting the arrests, and we're 6 months into this case. Yeah, we feel like we should have had all these things, all these action items been followed with specificity in accordance with the standard operating procedures. I feel like we would be further along, if not have the guy in custody. But, I feel like Savannah Guthrie's talking to somebody. Is she making one last ditch effort to try to find the legitimacy of these ransom notes? And why is law enforcement, we know damn good and well, law enforcement has known that these, I know for a fact in my heart of hearts, in the conversation I had, that law enforcement has never really thought that these, maybe at the beginning, maybe circling back and just, well, could it be? But in the back of their minds, they've known that these ransom notes were hogwash. But it was all they had. From what I'm understanding, that's why it becomes such a big deal. That's not good enough. It's just not good enough. You know what I'm saying? It's just not good enough. The ransom notes make absolutely zero sense. Zero specificity for the first 6 days. Zero. Zero proof of life. Zero documenting anything. Like, they could have in that first letter said, we left a note here. We specifically moved something and placed it here. Right? With 40 minutes to an hour, you couldn't take something out of her bedroom that was known in the bedroom, like maybe her jewelry box, and stuck it on the kitchen counter? You couldn't have done that and said, I took the jewelry box and moved it and stuck it on the kitchen counter. So they knew that that is you that is writing that ransom note. So literally the very first ransom note, outside of this, I'm going to kill your mother if you don't act, and we're only keeping her for 7 days, or else. It doesn't meet the threshold of a ransom. Even this day. The elements of this being a ransom are not here. You cannot sit here and tell me that there is any statistics that support this being a ransom with the specificity in this case. This is something else. We know it's something else. And it's sad. This is one of her old pleas.
To say it is day 24 since our mom was taken in the dark of night from her bed.
Taken from her
and
bed.
Every hour and minute and second and every long night has been agony since then of worrying about her.
I don't either, Alita.
Fearing for her, aching for her. And most of all, just missing her. Just missing her. We know that millions of you have been praying. So many people have been praying of every faith and no.
Let me ask you this. And I have been bouncing around with this after her last statement she made. The most recent one. Where she's begging this guy to do the right thing. Or person. And it dawned on me, you know, even though I don't think Savannah is the reason for this all happening, I really don't. And it comes down to, again, the January 11th, okay? The January 11th deadline, timeline, the movements of the assailant on that day is what's really keeping me from believing that this has anything to do with Savannah. But at the end of the day, it was the last video that she's talking, she says the word agony. And I think that's the best word that she can use to describe what she's feeling. I think that's the word that she, that resonates with her about her thoughts and feelings on her mom being gone. But if I'm wrong, which let's face it, very well, all of us could be wrong. None of us know what the hell happened here. If I am wrong, and this is absolutely has everything to do with Savannah. And we know that it has everything to do with Savannah, which I just want to put the caveat. I don't believe that. I don't believe that Savannah. I believe Savannah is beating herself up for a lot of things right now. And I feel bad for her for doing that because the woulda, shoulda, couldas. Okay, trust me, I know that every single family that we've worked with that has had a loss of a loved one in their family, it's always the shoulda, woulda, coulda. So I know she's going through it. Okay, I know mentally she is beating herself up more than the public ever could beat her up. Okay, I know that because she's behind the scenes. She's going through all the times that she wasn't able to see her mom, or all the times that she rushed her mom off the phone, or all the times that she got short with her mom, or all the times that she couldn't come home because of work, or all those times. This is all going through her brain nonstop, 24/7, and she is constantly beating herself up. But if I am wrong, and this has everything to do to her and do with her, how do we know that her agony is not what they wanted? Is it really beneficial for her to keep addressing them on an emotional level? Because if, for some reason, I am wrong, and this does have everything to do with Miss Savannah Guthrie, her pain, you physically see her pain. Her eyes are red, her eyelids are swollen. You can see that she has been crying. Any woman that has cried over anything knows that this is a face of pain. Okay, you can see it. We know the discoloration. Maybe a lot of people don't know it, but at the end of the day, she is in pain. Why would she be broadcasting that pain? I mean, yeah, we get the, she is in pain. It's probably very hard to talk about your mom that's been ripped out of her bed without breaking down. I can't imagine how difficult that is. Shelly Ray, I think and that's where I'm kind of going. She seemed like she was talking to someone specific in the last, like these, videos, you could tell she was talking to someone, but she herself didn't know who she was speaking to. But this last one, it was, I know that the world can be unforgiving. Basically, I know you've been through hell and back, but we just want our mom back type of thing. It was kind of cryptic and creepy the way she was saying it, but not creepy in the type of creep that we usually get. It does have a level of creep to it. But my question is how do we know that this isn't what the assailant wanted? And she's playing right into his handbook. And maybe the reason why he's not talking is because he's watching her flounder in misery, and that's exactly what this person wanted for Savannah. If there is an angle for Savannah. I just, I was thinking about that because I was looking at her face, this one, in her statement in the most recent one, and I thought, if this person really was targeting her, this might be exactly what he wanted. And here she is doing that. I personally think that the kidnappers will never be found, and they don't care what Savannah said in her plea message. As heartless as that sounds, I kind of tend to agree with you. I really don't think that the kidnappers, I don't want to say never, because we've seen so many miracles be had, especially with forensics and digital evidence and, stuff that takes a little more technology. And I also believe we have technology that's still being invented that's going to help and aid in law enforcement. So I never want to put, it definitively, like they will never be found. But, I do think it's becoming more and more unlikely that we're going to have any type of resolution soon. I think is the way I would like to present it, because I don't want to say never, because think of all the cases, especially here recently with IGG, a new technology, that now we're being able to solve cases that are 30, 50, 60 years old. Some where we're able to have, the assailant arrested even in their geriatric years. We're throwing them in jail because they committed these crimes many, many years ago, and they were able to live their life. Well, now that your life is almost over and you're probably wanting to look forward to seeing your grandchildren and children, well, then the government comes and steals the last bit of your life from you, like you did your victim. So there's always technology that's coming around, even some that comes decades after the crime. So I don't want to ever say never, but the way it's looking right now is we're not going to get a resolution soon. I think we're going to see Brian Hooker in jail sooner than... I think we'll probably be through the trial of Brian Hooker by the time we have movement on Nancy Guthrie's case. That's just kind of how I feel. But I get you. I get you. I do agree in part with that. Yeah, but it's impossible to recognize a person wearing a mask. No, it's not. I disagree with that wholeheartedly, and it's because we have experts all over the field with forensics. Because it's not impossible wearing a mask, because at the end of the day, bone structure is bone structure, and you only have to look for the bone structure. That's why when we have people that have nothing but a skull, we're able to rebuild their face and put them up. We have artists, people that are experts in taking bone and creating a face based upon genetic factors, and they measure it, everything, and they're able to build a face on a skull. And again, it comes down to the bone structure and stuff like that. So we already know that they're most likely of Hispanic descent or have some type of Hispanic descent in them, whether they're mixed or whatever. I think that we've had a lot of people here. Now, me personally, I can't tell whether it's a Hispanic person, if it's somebody that might be mixed with Hispanic and white, Hispanic and Greek, Greek white, Italian white, whatever the case may be. It seems to me, hey, 503, it seems to me, or 603. Did I say 503? 603. I'm okay. Oh, I see. Maybe they have good technology and see the masked person. Yeah, we already had, that's where this came from. Let me take this off. This was done by a forensic artist right there in the middle of that was done by a forensic artist based on the bone structure. That's what they say. And this lady is well known. She's done this for 30 years. She solved over 1,200 cases similar to this, where they have to take, only a masked face and find the bone structure under the mask and try to build that face. And so she's been very, very successful. She just retired, like in the last few years, from, where was it? Houston, Texas? Houston? I want to say Houston. And her work solved 1,200 cases so far, 1,200. And so she even in her retired state, when she put this photo out, she goes, of all people, this is what I do. She goes, I'm retired now, but if anybody's going to get this, she's like, I'm willing to stick my neck out for this one. And she provided us this photo of what, at least, I would take away the hair. Like I wouldn't really look at the hair so much. I would just look at the face, the pure face, because this is kind of where that's going to be, because the hair could be different. The person could have a shaved head. The person could have long hair. The person could have, be balding in certain spots, so those would change some things. So I would, if you want to, just look at the face, look at the features of the face. And I believe this person, in the first few days where we had the media circus out there, I believe the assailant is caught on camera. I'm confident. I've been saying that since the beginning. Oh, you crack me up. She says the photo looks like CP. It looks like CP. That makes me want to, hold on here. I got to get the other, hold on. Do we have it? Do we have it? Do we have it? Do we have it? Oh, please tell me this is it. Please tell Now that's CP. And that's the corrupted sheriff out there in Sumner County. That's the sheriff. I just thought I'd... Oh, they say that we have no fun. That we have no fun. And all this is just getting us all cranky. We have no fun. Well, I gotta say, somebody was at least a little clever. I'm just saying, not playing. Oh, so that was the one thing I wanted to talk about, and I meant to bring that up before, with this. And Ruby, I'm going to look up Wyatt after I get through this little bit. It looks like we got about another 15 minutes, but I'll try to get to the Wyatt angle. I haven't seen that yet, but we will get to the Wyatt angle and see what that says. We'll see that in real time. I'll be watching that with my audience. Because I haven't seen it yet, and we'll figure it out. But as you guys know, it was when Crime Junkies and Brianna Whitney decided to release the contents of the first ransom. I was absolutely convinced at that moment that these were bogus. And so when I started reaching out and started talking to this person, talking to that person, talking to this person, I finally did get a phone call back. And in that conversation, it became very, very clear that law enforcement had a very hard time believing the ransom notes. So I'm not going to sit there and say that they were pressured into following the ransom notes or whatever the case may be. I can only tell you what I know, and everything else is assumption, right? So I was told that this was well known amongst law enforcement out the gate that these were most likely not going to be anything that was going to be fruitful. They knew that going into these. I don't know why, and I didn't get an answer as to why the law enforcement keeps circling back to these. So anything I say related to that is all speculative. The only thing that I know that I was told is that this was well known to all of them, that they're not stupid. That's basically what I was told. So I'll take it as that, as whatever. But it was obviously not a conversation that was friendly, overly friendly, just to put it out there like that. But it was a conversation that I was glad to have, and I'm glad they gave me an opportunity to speak to me, even though they were very, very disgruntled with me. I mean, they did calm down, but at the end of the day, very disgruntled. So it wasn't one of those pleasure calls, the birdies that you want to have on your shoulder. It was kind of the birdies that came with fire flames out the mouth and, barbed wire for claws. I'm just saying. So they're not stupid. I just wanted to put that out there, that law enforcement is not stupid, and that these ransom notes were very well known to them as potentially not being legitimate, but they didn't have anything else to go on. They didn't have anything else to work. They're going to be coming back to them again. So I think they're over the ransom notes, though. I think that this is the last of the conversation. I think we're going to start seeing that aspect of this case wind down very quickly. It's already started winding down very quickly. So I think that this was necessary. I appreciate Brianna and Ashley for putting this together and getting this out there. I wish they would have done it sooner, but we know Brianna just got with them, so there's no harm, no foul. I'm glad that there are a few journalists that are actually coming over to social media and understanding the freedom of press, that we truly have freedom of press back, and we need to continue with this direction in our country. We need truth and transparency. The public deserves it, and I hope that more and more news organizations, local and national, start taking responsibility of our freedoms. And the fact that that this country is sick and tired of being told things. We want to be informed to make our own decision. We want to be informed to make our own decisions.
There's been parts that people know, but I don't think they know all of the verbiage. And I think this is very important because it sets the tone for what was about to come. So I'm going to read you part of it. This is how it started. Hello, Savannah. We have your mother, Nancy. She is safe but scared. She will be held for ransom, and once payment is received, she will be released unharmed. We will be holding her for a maximum of 7 days. So they go on then to demand the millions of dollars, and they give the 2 deadlines. But what is key here, I think, is that the money was demanded in USD, so US dollar. Typically, if this is coming from somebody here,
you don't say that.
You don't say that, which is key for this theory we're going to talk about later in the episode.
But a lot of people don't realize that fraud has been around for a long time. Anybody that's been on Facebook, anybody that's been on Craigslist, anybody that's tried to rent out a house on any of those platforms, mostly the housing at the time, right? We would have these people saying, oh, I will send you a check for $2,500 for the deposit. It's going to be a little bit more, but I need you to send me back $500 so I can give the cash to my movers. Okay, there were scams like that all the time. Please do that. I need $500 USD. And you guys got to understand, I have been dealing with this language and this type of fraud since I was 20-something years old. Okay, I assisted my father in renting his properties out. I actually did all of his legal paperwork to sue the people that didn't pay for their stuff. I was able, whenever I realized people didn't have the money to pay and they thought they were going to be able to play the system and get another 90 days out of it, I would go in there and ask for no money. I would not sue them for their back rent. I just wanted them out, forcing them out in 7 days. I don't play those games. So I've been part of this type of of environment for a very long time. And anybody that's had rental properties in the last decade, 15 years, if you have advertised it on Facebook or on Craigslist, you will have received some type of fraudulent communication from somebody that wanted to con you. And some of you guys fell into it, because I know for a fact, I knew somebody that ended up ponying up lost $2,500. Got a check from the Naval Credit Union. It was pristine check. I called out to the Naval Credit Union. I ended up having to send that check over there. They ended up starting a investigation on that check because the check was fraudulent. But at the end of the day, the person was still out of the $2,500. It was a very upsetting situation because it was somebody I personally knew. But there was nothing we could do about it. The money was gone. $2,500 was gone. Yet they held a check from the Naval Credit Union in the amount of $5,000, and that check was absolutely worthless. And not only worthless, it was bogus. It displayed the Navy Credit Union's logo. It was literally a bogus check. And we found out that at the time, people could go buy checks and basically make their own checks. They had little books that you'd go and buy checks because it costs so much money to have printing companies make your checks for you. So like Walmart, they would have packets in a program to make your own checks so they can go right through the computer. And so people were using those checks and designing them and fraudulently taking advantage of people around this country. And I saw it and witnessed it myself. So I'm very familiar with this. And you know what? Every time I see a communication that had USD, I flagged it for fraud. I flagged it for fraud. And that was 20 years ago. Okay? That was 20 years ago. So I just want to let you know, when I hear USD and any type of thing in this country, I believe it's fraud. And I'm going to continue to believe that because I have 20 years of experience in it.
They're saying they will only hold her for 7 days.
For 7 days, right. Then they get pretty demanding and snarky with how they address Savannah. And mind you, that's also important, right? They're addressing just Savannah.
Yeah.
They don't say the Guthrie family. Hello, Savannah, we have your mother.
We always wondered if it was like about who she was, or,
Right.
or did they just happen upon her not knowing that it was going to garner this attention? But it seems like this was about, or they at least like, not necessarily about Savannah, but they knew Savannah had money.
Yes.
At a minimum.
This is what it went on to say.
I agree.
Once payment is received to the Bitcoin address below, she will be released within 12 hours of deposit to a safe drop-off location back in Tucson. If the payment...
So that's why they thought she was out. So they've followed the wrong leads in this case from the beginning. That is so frustrating. I don't think she ever left Tucson.
Is not received by the last deadline on Monday the 9th at 5 p.m., she will be killed. Your mother is aware of this, and her life is in your hands. It is in the best interest of everyone to have this completed as soon as possible. You will not be able to contact me from here on out. There will be no negotiation. Do not play games. Law enforcement will not be able to help you.
Ransom notes are never drafted like that. They always want communication. If people want to get paid, they need to communicate. They need to communicate. And that's all there is to it. Let me get this in just a little bit. Put it up above my head. There we go. So, Sheriff, this is what just came out in International. Before we do, I just want to thank today for the people that sponsored this show. I love it. It's so beautiful. Thank you. Happy Wednesday, Betty, Delilah, and everyone. Sending love to everyone. Prayers whoever may need them. And the egg came first. The egg came first. If you guys want to know, I do have a goal in the question. It says, Happy Hump Day. Trivia question of the day. Which came first? The chicken or the egg? And so Melanie says the egg. Melanie says the egg. Okay, well, thank you for that. Then we got OG Jitter. Thank you, OG Jitter. She says, morning, beautiful Betty and the amazing beans. Lots of love to each of you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And Rose, thank you. We appreciate you. And Laurie, we appreciate you. And then circling back to Chad with his milestone, don't forget, folks, if you guys have that little green label next to your name, that means you are a member of the Bullhorn Betty channel. And if you did not initiate that membership, that means somebody gifted you a membership. So with each membership, every single month, you get a free milestone. And so that is what Chad is using. He's using his milestones. So don't forget, guys, use those milestones. And he says, funny how A and T are silent and non-existent. I will agree with that. I will agree with that. The whole family. And we actually, you can apply that not just to Annie and Tommaso. You can also apply that to Cameron. And moreover, in fairness, you can also apply that to Savannah. Even though Savannah has just now come to the social media and, once again spoke to the assailant, let's be honest, she hasn't talked about her mother much. And outside of the $1 million reward, she hasn't put together any type of search party. She hasn't put together an investigative team. She hasn't sponsored missing person flyers to help people that are boots on the ground that are physically searching for a mother, nor has she even told them thank you. The thank you that Savannah gave the people that are searching for her mother was, get off my property, don't stand in front of my house, and if you do, I'm going to call the sheriff and have you arrested. So I can tell you that in the true crime genre, many people and a cat lady, thank you for the flowers. I almost missed you. Sorry about that. And it has upset a lot of people on social media. It bothers me a little bit. Oh, thank you, Horsey Love. It bothers me a little bit personally as well. But at the end of the day, I'm here specifically for avocation for Miss Nancy Guthrie. And I'm here for avocation for Miss Nancy Guthrie because her family's not doing it. People are, I'm not a fan of the Guthrie family. I'm not covering this case because I'm like them or friendly with them or somehow want them to see me or anything like that. I'm not doing it. I'm doing it because this case defies logic. This case is, well, thank you, Let Them 66. Appreciate you. I'm doing it because she needs to be advocated for, and I feel like this family is following the direction of law enforcement. And I'm sorry, I don't believe law enforcement all the time work the proper way. Okay, I disagree with a lot of their decisions. They're like, well, Betty, you've never did the law. You're not a law enforcement officer. You don't know. You're right, I don't. You're right, I don't. I agree with that. 100%, I agree. I am not in law enforcement. But I've watched law enforcement for years. I've got law enforcement that are friends. I know people that are retired FBI. I know people that are retired CIA. I know people that are just, I know people. And I don't think these are the best practices. I'm sorry, I don't. I think we have older, seasoned, shoe leather investigators. Okay? Older, seasoned investigators that had to use shoe leather investigative work. And while those skills have to be taught because they are the gold standard, we need shoe leather investigation. But I also believe that they are taught to be inside of a box. They are not taught to think outside of the box. And in my opinion, that is where social media flourishes. Because we're not taught in a box. We have to use our common sense, and we have to find ways to get from point A to point B. And so because we're not trained by law enforcement that this is how they want it to be done, we have to find out for ourselves what works to get us from point A to point B. And so we have to kind of use our own common sense and our own problem-solving techniques to get from point A to point B, which forces us to think outside the box, which again, in many cases, I don't believe law enforcement does. I don't think law enforcement trains their people because they have standard operating procedures they must follow because of lawsuit purposes and other purposes. We are not held to that standard, okay? And they don't like it. But it doesn't stop what we do, and it doesn't mean that we're any less effective. So the sheriff drops a bombshell, a new clue in the Nancy Guthrie case, months after silence. What is that? We know that Savannah Guthrie recently broke her silence. Let's see if this has anything to do with that. Does it? Does it not? I don't know. Pima County Sheriff Chris Nanos has revealed a major new lead in the Nancy Guthrie case kidnapping, saying the investigators are working with a large haul of DNA and video evidence nearly 6 months after she vanished. I told you the video evidence was there. I told you that months ago. Because I had one small report that said they retrieved everything else from that video camera. Evidence nearly 6 months after. So we have a large haul of DNA. What does that mean? What is a large haul? What is a large haul of DNA? Let's look that terminology up. Let's see if Google knows what this means. What does this mean? A large haul of DNA means gathering of massive, high-quality collection of genetic samples or data from multiple sources. It's an informal, dramatic phrase often used in news reports or science writings to describe a successful extraction or collection of large volume biological material for sequenced genealogy. This might change. If this is true and it comes back to the assailant, this could change the direction of this case. This could change the direction of the case. I wonder if they took the sheets for testing. Guys, I'm telling you, I think we're going to find out this lady was sexually assaulted. I don't know why this has been it has been put on my heart. Not that I want this to be the outcome, but there's just something that has just been gnawing at me since the beginning of this case. And you guys know that that's been my major focus, is I believe she was a geriatric rape victim. And I believe that there's support for that designation with the amount of evidence we have. And, you know, hearing about this large swath or large haul of DNA, it just brings me, I pray to God that that's not the case. You know, I pray to God. We have some New Hampshire people in here. How many New Hampshires do we have in here? I know you are, Marissa. So I'm really hoping that this is what it is. But, you know, again, it's hard to trust anything coming out of Chris Nanos' mouth. Speaking publicly in Tucson, Arizona about the Guthrie case for the first time in weeks, he insisted the inquiry remains active and far from over. Could this be the reason why? I'm starting to believe. Remember when we saw, let's go back to the clip. Let's go back to the clip, because I felt like even when I heard this, I feel like even when I heard this, I brought up, did she do everything she could have been doing? I get that I did say that. But I think I brought up that I thought she was speaking to somebody. Let's listen.
So there is breaking news right now. Breaking news. Savannah Guthrie has broke her silence once again, speaking to the abductors. She is begging for her mom. She's telling the world she's done everything she can. And I'm not going to beat a dead horse, but I don't think they have, nor do I think law enforcement has done everything that they can do to bring Miss Nancy Guthrie home. So right now, Miss Savannah Guthrie has made this statement. Check this out.
I'm coming on today with a very specific message. It has been months since our mom was taken from us. Our family is in agony. We are in a nightmare that will not end. Nothing about our situation has changed. We have done our part, and we will never stop looking for her. We will always ache for her and feel that hole in our hearts. The world can be a cruel and unforgiving place, and I know that you have tried to do things the right way. So I'm asking you, begging you, to do the right thing now. Make the right choice. Help us find her. Tell us where to look for her. I truly believe it is never too late to do the right thing. Help us bring this situation to an end. For all of us, no matter where we've been and what we've done, I believe there is always a way home. Please make the right choice.
So what do you think about this? I feel so bad. You can tell she's in agony. You can tell her heart is broken. You can tell she is in a lot of pain, and she's speaking to somebody. Does she know who she is speaking to?
Boom. Boom. I tell you guys, every time Savannah takes a sabbatical, we have breaking news. Major breaking news, okay? And it usually comes several days after her taking a sabbatical. She all of a sudden runs off to England to record Wordle. Okay. This case is so frustrating. It is so frustrating. The DNA, the large amount of DNA is positive information. I feel like the Florida lab is finally getting to some of the lab work in this case. You know, I don't think that this is coming from the DNA, the FBI. You know, I think this is coming from the lab. This is one of the reasons why I don't like using labs. If you have an opportunity and your case is hitting all those metrics where the FBI is involved and they're willing to let you use their lab, they're taking your stuff in immediately and processing it. When you have a case like this, they would have taken it immediately. By sending it to Florida, you have to be put in order, right? You can't jump in line. So you get your number, your stuff goes into a cooler, and it stays there until your number comes up. It sounds like our number is finally up, at least on some of the testing. Each testing goes through the same type of process. So something, depending on how many tests needs to be had. For example, the sheet, say if they took your bedroom sheet, first and foremost, that sheet would need to go to one laboratory to be vacuumed and take any type of, trace off that sheet. But even before that, they've got to, look at it. They got to use different types of light and see what type of stuff there's there. And then they got to figure out what it is. Is this like a liquid sample? Is this a biological sample? Is this, is this a hair? Is this a fiber? Things like that. So it's got to go through all of these stages. Then now we realize there may be some saliva or semen or blood on or a smear of blood on the sheet. So now they need to test it. They need to take the Q-tip and make sure that it's human blood, right? If it's a blood mark, and then that'll fluoresce, and then they know, okay, well, it is blood, human blood. So now they go to the next phase of that testing. So all of these things are phased, okay? So it's got to go through several phases before it even gets there for actual physical testing of areas. At least this is my understanding of the process. Now, I may have skipped some steps, but there are several steps in the process, and each step needs to be concluded before it goes on to the next phase. So that's where it's at. And hearing this large swath, because we know that they collected evidence out of that house and sent that evidence over to that Florida lab, and hearing that we now have this swath of, why is this going up? Get back to my big button. Okay, there we are. Now that we have this swath of this large swath of DNA, that tells me like maybe they're now starting to process, like, say, maybe the sheets of the bed, or maybe they were processing some other evidence we know nothing about that they collected and sent down to the labs. So this might be a step in the right direction. This might, if they collected all of this in their initial run, the initial 20 hours, we're going to be good with court. If this was something that was collected after the fact, we're going to have challenges. We're going to have some major challenges in the testing and the results. So I'm hoping they can keep all that together. So I'm still, worried about how this is going to play out. We don't know. We really just don't know. But let me stop this. I don't want this playing. But let's keep going on, because we got some new, that's breaking news. We got DNA. We've got DNA. Do we trust that? I don't know. I don't know what that is for you. I don't know what that is for you. Nano said specialist laboratories across the United States are now examining samples linked to the 84 disappearance, which we've known multiple labs around the United States. Remember, the reason why he sent it to the Florida labs is because everything was just in the one lab, and he wanted everything to be processed through that one lab. And now he's saying, oh, but look at all these labs. They got all of our stuff everywhere. So much for you keeping it in one lab in Florida. This is why it should have all went to out to the FBI. FBI would have distributed this out. We would have known where things are, and we would have had it back a lot sooner. Nano says specialty labs are now examining samples. Okay, so we got samples. We also confirmed that detectives are reviewing extensive CCTV and other footage gathered from around Nancy's home. Oh, so it sounds like they finally got the results back from Google as well. The update arrived just as public attention was slipping, and it immediately sharpened the focus on what exactly has been going on inside the investigation all this time. Nano sat for the interview that aired both locally and to a wider audience, where he tried to quash growing speculation that the trail had gone cold. We have found so much DNA to sort through. We have so much in items of videos, evidence to look at. This should have been going on for 6 months. He added, I'm still positive we're going to resolve this. I pray to God this large swath of DNA is not going to come back to being only Nancy Guthrie's. In a separate conversation, he expanded to that point, explained that the DNA work involves not just one lab or two. It involves multiple labs. Of course it does, because you were trying to send it to one lab. We were telling you that wasn't going to work. These are labs all across the country that are talking to one another about the best look at what they have in front of them for DNA evidence, Nano says. According to Pima County Sheriff's Department, the process is ongoing and time-consuming. The officials say they are not yet able to disclose the nature of the samples or whose cameras supplied the additional footage, citing the integrity of the inquiry. So we've got more footage. I hope it's the 11th. The 11th is going to give us some information. Nanos also stressed that detectives are still working full tilt on the file. We're working this as hard as we can, he said, urging anyone with information, however small, to come forward. There's no lead too small. We, like Savannah today, we encourage you, if you know something, saw something, please let us know. Savannah raw plea puts human face to the Nancy Guthrie case. No, it doesn't. It just pisses everybody off because she's not doing what she should be doing as a daughter. She's just not. And I'm not going to sit up here and make my audience feel like idiots and not say what I know a lot of them are thinking. She is not doing, there is not one person in here in my chat that would have sat this long without doing a damn thing. I'm sorry. And you guys can, the ones that pander to Miss Savannah Guthrie can be mad at me. I'm perfectly fine. People are mad at me every day. Just one more person to stand in line. I wonder if it gets hot out there with all y'all standing in line being mad at Betty, but I don't care. The sheriff's new detail about the DNA and video coincide with deeply personal intervention from Nancy's daughter, television journalist Savannah Guthrie. Savannah posted an emotional video on Instagram speaking directly to her mother's kidnapper and to anyone who might know where she is. It has been months since our mother was taken from us, she said. Our family is in agony. We are in a nightmare that will not end. Nothing about our situation has changed. We have done our part, and we will never stop looking for her. We will always ache for her and feel that hole in our heart. I wonder if they're getting ready to make an arrest, and she is basically giving them the one time, please make a plea deal and let me know where my mom is. Savannah then turned to address the captor or captors, because you got to remember, when law enforcement is telling us that they have a swath of DNA and they have, all these videos to go through, they usually have already went through those videos, and they usually have already they already know the results of the DNA before we ever even know it. We're just getting the beginning part. This is where they start rattling the tree and shaking the tree, and seeing what falls out as they're building this case. But it sounds like that this might be pointing already in one direction. And I told you guys the last time we covered an interview from Chris Nanos, he brought up the IGG, the investigative genetic genealogist. And I'm like, wait a minute. If there's IGG involved in this case, then we have what? We have some DNA. Remember me telling you guys that? How many were here for that show? Where I said, wait a minute, did Nanos? And I remember going back and I couldn't find that one spot again that he had said it, but we heard it. And I'm like, did he just say IGG? He needs to coordinate with IGG. If he's coordinating with IGG, I even went to Google and asked him, like, IGG can't be involved unless they have a profile. Then nope, they cannot be involved. They can't do anything. IGG works from profiles. So if they don't have a profile, then they don't have to work. And I remember him saying something about IGG, and I'm like, did he just tell us that they've got a result back on DNA without saying that they got a result back on DNA? Oh, you guys remember that? Yeah. I bet you anything that was what we're learning today, way back. And when was that? Like a month ago? Several weeks ago, I know. It's been several weeks ago. I don't know exactly how many weeks, but it's been several weeks. It's not something that I just recently reported. So I remember stopping the show about that. I'm like, did he just admit to having a DNA profile? And now we're finding out we have a large swath of DNA. I bet you anything. And we already had Miss Savannah Guthrie. And I had the wherewithal to say, she seems like she knows who she's speaking to with this one. To the point that I actually said it. Like, does she know who she's speaking to? Does she know who she's speaking to?
I believe there is always a way home. Please make the right choice.
So what do you think about this? I feel so bad. You can tell she's in agony. You can tell her heart is broken. You can tell she is in a lot of pain. And she's speaking to somebody. Does she know who she is speaking to?
I have never said that out of all of the ransom notes we've covered, because the other ones, she didn't seem like she knew exactly. You know what made me think that she knew who she was speaking to? It's the part at the beginning where she says that, the world can be cruel and unforgiving. And I thought she was talking about herself, but if you listen to it, she's talking about the person. How could she know that life is cruel and unforgiving to this person? Yvonne says the chicken came first. Now you guys know why I did that, don't you? Did the chicken come first or did the egg? The question is, will we ever know? Will we ever know? Or will it be the debate for the next century? Which came first, the chicken or the egg? I'm starting to feel like she was given the profile, like she knows who he is, like she got the dossier on the dude, like she got the dossier on the dude, and she's not talking about ransoms or paying somebody anymore. She's talking about, we did everything we could to help you and find you and pay somebody, but now we know who you are, so why don't you do the right thing before it gets worse? Tell us where my mom is. right? Maybe she's planting the seeds so whenever they're arrested, they'll remember her statement of just do the right thing. Tell us where my mom is, you know? I know that people around the country are working this case. There's people all over. There's got to be people reaching out to her just like us, right? If we have information, we're going to, but she keeps telling somebody that they're doing the right thing. I've never felt like she was speaking to somebody before, like in all the other, we never talked. Does she know who she's speaking to? We didn't, never even ask that. But for this one, because she said it was unforgiving, because she used those words, and I think it was at the very beginning. Let me see if I can find where this is. I think it's right here.
Since our mom was taken from us, our family is in agony. We are in a nightmare that will not end. Nothing about our situation has changed. We have done our part. And we will never stop looking for her.
So I think that's the end of that sentence.
We will always ache for her, feel that hole in our hearts.
I think this is where she does it.
The world.
There it is. That was the end of that sentence. That was the end of that sentence. Now she's going on with this one.
The world can be a cruel and unforgiving place. And I know that you have tried to do things the right way.
Right there. That was too personal. That is what made me stop and say, for the first time out of all of these, I think she's done 3 or 4 of these Instagrams where she's speaking to someone. This is the only time I've ever stopped and said, does she sound like she's speaking directly to somebody? She may not know who they are, but she knows who they are, type of thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, she may not know who this person is personally, but it sounds to me like she's speaking directly to someone. She's saying, I know that this world is an unforgiving place, is cruel and unforgiving, and I know you've tried to do things the right way. How would you know that unless you don't, if you don't know the person? How do you know that they've always tried to do things the right way, but have fallen short? So this was the first time that I felt like this was somebody specifically she was speaking to versus somebody generally she was speaking to. Because when the ransom notes came in, she didn't know who she was speaking to. She was speaking to a fictitious person out there. And she didn't act like she knew that they were trying to do the right thing or that life has been, hard or unnecessarily cruel to them. These are very specific things that she is speaking directly to the person. So this is what, for the first time, I felt like she knew who she was speaking to, followed by Chris Nanos saying we have a swath of DNA, and me reporting this DNA and the possibility of them having an actual profile already a month ago. And now we're finding out that we might be really close at this point. And I have to think if he's coming out and giving us this type of hope in this case, that they really do have something moving in the right direction to tree this suspect, the porch guy. Cameron doesn't get a pass. No, he doesn't. Yet he has. So in all fairness, all of them have gotten a pass. And if you want to be honest, we're being honest about this. We would never treat any other family like we've treated Nancy Guthrie's family. Anybody that was acting and behaving this way, we would have went scorch earth on them. We would have drugged them for everything, right? When we have a family that doesn't search, doesn't provide flyers, that are trying to put independent journalists in jail, those are red flags to us, okay? Those are huge red flags of guilt, typically, in our makeup. But that's when we're dealing with the average person. This family is not the average family we deal with. This family is a New York family, right? Savannah, you guys know how I feel about rich hoity-toity people, especially if they're in the media. There's something wrong with their freaking head. I don't know what it's like. In order for you to be in any type of mainstream media, you got to be truly, truly messed up in your head, with the exception of Brian Enton, Vinnie Politan, and Nancy Grace. It seems like every other person that has made it to that level has to be completely, utterly messed up in their brain, okay? I don't know why. It just seems like that. To me, that's what it seems like. I'm not saying that is, that's the facts. I'm just saying from my lens, from my corneas, that's the way it looks, okay? That's the way it looks to me. And when we have families that act like this, well, that to us usually triggers a guilty conscience affect. Like, we believe that you are guilty of something. We don't know what, but when you act XYZ way, we're attributing that to being red flag, being problematic, and showing signs of guilt. This family has displayed all of that. All of that. And I still don't believe that they are responsible personally. I don't believe that Annie did this. I don't believe Tommaso did this. I don't believe Cameron or his wife did this. I don't believe Savannah or her husband did this. I don't believe any of their children did this. Now, does that eliminate the family as a whole? It does not, because they're not the entire family. Okay? So I'm not there yet, but again, I don't think it was family related, at least the person out the front door, because I think many of us, not all of us, and I can acknowledge that, but many of us believe that this person was of Hispanic descent. Does that mean he was Hispanic descent? No, it doesn't. It just means that many people believe he is. So I don't think, based on that aspect, that this is directly tied to the family specifically. But what I do know is that there's a lot of Hispanic business owners. This is Arizona. It's right over the Mexican border. There was a lot of people that are citizens that have Mexican families, Hispanic families over in Mexico. And they still communicate with them, and they love being within driving where they can just go see their family in Mexico, right? So you're going to have, in this particular area, it's probably not, I mean, I don't know, I haven't been to Tucson, I don't know if it's predominantly white, but I'd have to say that they probably, if it is a predominantly white area, that they have their next big chunk of population would be Hispanic. I would think that there would be more Hispanic in this area than blacks. So if we were looking at in Asians for that matter, right? So I think when we look at the breakup of this, and I'm not trying to get into a white, black, brown issue here. I just think it's in this particular matter it is necessary, because I think it's a feature of the person that they can't get rid of, And we did have several people in here, beautiful people, and there was this one black chick in here, and she's like, "Look, I'm black. Like, this is not a black person. This is." She's like, "I believe it's Hispanic." I think she said, "I believe it's a Mexican," but I think she meant Hispanic. So either way we look at this, I don't believe that this is a light-skinned black person. I don't believe that this really is a Persian person. I know people were talking about, Iranians, Jordanians, Persians, something along there. I don't believe that's the case in this matter. I believe we're dealing with an Hispanic person. I really do. Or somebody that might be mixed, maybe not necessarily Hispanic, but maybe somebody that's mixed with, multiple things. So we have like Hispanic and white, we have Puerto Rican and white, we have Greek and white, but it would be something like that. I didn't even think about the Puerto Rican, could it be Puerto Rican versus Hispanic? I guess maybe, I don't know. You know, I really don't know. What I'm trying to say is it's of a darker skin tone. Not dark, but of a darker skin tone. So could that be a white person that just does construction like roofing and just really, really, really dark? No, because I think Hispanics have different bone structure. But, you know, again, that's for the professionals to know. But I think that people have identified this person as Hispanic. Does that help? I really don't know. I really don't. I feel bad. I feel bad no matter how we look at this case, you know, that somebody has this much hate in their heart to do something like this. But it wasn't even just the hate in their heart to do something like this, folks. It is the fact that he came there January 11th and we can't figure out what was the purpose of that visit. Nobody has been able to definitively define the purpose of that visit. And when you see a tool bag in their hand or a toolbox in their hand, you know they're not there just to look on the outside of the home and look at all the entrance points and just make a plan for them to come back a week later. That person was there to get inside that home on January 11th. He had all of the tools to get inside the home on January 11th. I believe this man made it into that home. I believe this man was absolutely shocked that somebody was living in that home. And while I believe he got scared and left, I believe after a week went by, he started making plans to go back because he knew it was a low-risk target. And maybe at this time, yes, we are taller than Mexicans. We are taller than Mexicans. Well, 5'9", 5'10", I think that's an average. I think that's average height, average build. A dime a dozen, right? An average, I mean, think about it. In Arizona, somebody with olive skin, you know, brown hair, brown eyes, 5'9", 5'10", average build. That's like literally 90% of the population in Pima County, Arizona. Yeah. For the men. I mean, that is pretty much the description of 90% of the men in Arizona. Okay? Now you add a pickup truck, well, now you're screwed, okay? It's all going down. We're never going to find out who it is. So now you got an average build, average height, man with brown hair, olive skin, brown eyes, and driving a pickup truck in Arizona, okay? You can literally go stand on a corner and every other car would match that description. Every other car would match that description. In my opinion, the porch dude knew exactly whose home he was entering. Yeah, I do believe that. By the first, where we can see him walking around, I absolutely do believe that. But I believe it's because he was there on the 11th and went inside that house and knew exactly who was there. I think over time, I think he researched it and realized that this lady was Savannah's mom. But I don't think when he first went in there on the 11th, he knew that. Maybe he did. When was that trend? When was the trend of, wasn't it January? Everything was January 11th. Like when somebody searched for her home on Google Trends, I think that was January 11th. Let's see, past 5 years. I know we had the term. Let's see here, Guthrie update. I know we had her home. There's the other ones. I gotta find the right search. Maybe Nancy Guthrie's home? Oops. Yeah, it's not showing me. I need to find out that I need to do the trend. I can't remember which one I used because this is only showing in 2026, but we actually had a trend going all the way back to, this is February 31st, but we had trends going back to 2025 to search for Savannah Guthrie and Nancy Guthrie and Nancy Guthrie's home. Maureen says the chicken. The chicken came first. Melanie says the egg. I don't know. This is going to be, like I said, this is going to be the trivia question that's going to keep on giving, because we could literally talk about it. I think we've been talking about what came first, the chicken or the egg, since I was in since I was in elementary school. Okay? I'm now 46 years old, and we still have not solved the mystery of what came first, either the chicken or the chicken or the egg. The mystery still continues. Savannah's childhood home, maybe something like that. Chicken then the egg. My mom was 6 feet, even my 10-year-old sister, taller than me at 5'9". I was trying to make it look like not me. Shoot, I had my babies January 11th. Couldn't be me. Oh, wow. Wow. Utah. I'm short. I'm 5'1" if I'm lucky. So now we're going over to TMZ, and this is exactly what everybody was screaming. Did I go over this one yet? Will be suave, new plea, Savannah's new plea. I think we already went over this one some way, somehow. Chris Nano says we have a swath of DNA. I think we've already went through this. Well, I don't need to go through that. So let's go over the TMZ. TMZ is pretty interesting. So TMZ has Savannah. Here's what she meant by we have done our part. We have done our part. So Savannah Guthrie's, oh, thank you. The egg came first. KMH says the egg came first. Okay. God created the chicken, then he produced the eggs. That's what Terry says. Terry says the chicken. We're going to have fun with this one. I'm going to see if you guys, I'm going to run this next year and see if you guys' answers change. Savannah Guthrie's plea Monday to her mother's kidnappers contained a very intriguing phrase. We've done our part. And I know that when I read that, or we watched that in the chat blew up and said, what the hell has she done? So I know that we even have, some disgruntled true crimies in our chat that are kind of with me, granted, I'm trying to be understanding of their situation and not be, too nasty or mean, because at the end of the day, I'm a human being. I can't imagine losing my mom or, being pulled 1,000 different directions and never knowing what really to do, Mr. Rooster says the rooster came first. Should we put that song? Oh, good gracious. OG said, would an egg have a chicken? What's your answer? Well, the egg is the chicken. I don't know the answer, guys. God created man first, not the baby. So the chicken came first that produced the egg. So Mustang Sally's trying to get us with some common sense. She's dealing the common sense. I don't know. We'll be talking about it. Savannah Guthrie's plea Monday to her mother's kidnapper contained a very intriguing phrase, we have done our part, and now we want to know what she meant. So we're not going to go through Harvey's thing. I don't like Harvey. If you guys know anything about me, I'm just not a TMZ person, okay? I don't like Harvey. I don't like their content. I don't like, I've sold stuff to them. I wish I wouldn't have, but I did. I'll not do that again. Well, I don't sell my content anymore. You know, that was back in the days when we were trying to make ends meet, but now I produce my own content and run my own show. Our FBI sources tell us they knew in advance Savannah was going to post another plea to the kidnapper. Our sources say it was an issue of timing. This week marks 6 months since Nancy's kidnapping. And as one FBI source tells us, anniversaries are the time to go back to the public and reunite interest in the case. So again, Savannah's listening to law enforcement, and I wonder how that's been working out for her. As for what Savannah meant by "we have done our part," we have checked the Bitcoin address from the first ransom note, and no money has recently been deposited. So they're saying, you know, what does she mean by "we've done our part"? Because they thought maybe she meant we went and paid the ransom. Take the ransom money and give us our mother back. And they went and checked the Bitcoin wallet and says, wait a minute, nope, there's no money. Nothing's been deposited. The FBI deposited several $100s months ago in an attempt to trace the account, but to no avail. Our FBI source says they continue to work with the Guthrie family and they have not sent the kidnappers money. So our FBI sources say Savannah was referencing the $1 million reward for recovery of Nancy. So that's their part. That's all they're planning on doing, it sounds like. They're not doing any more. They're not going to hire any investigators. They're not, and we know that rewards are never paid out, right? Very, very limited rewards are ever paid out. So she's not really going to spend the $1 million. She's only going to look like she's willing to spend the $1 million. And she gave $500,000 to a nonprofit for a tax write-off. So if you're asking me, has she done her part for her mother? No, she saved herself some taxes. That's all she has done since her mother has went missing. Obviously, the kidnappers would not expect to get a reward, but we're told she was speaking more broadly to anyone who knows what happened to Nancy. I don't think she was. I think she was speaking directly to somebody she knew or somebody she heard about or somebody she knew had a rough life. One FBI source added that stark reality, we've made no progress here. We have no idea where Nancy is or who kidnapped her. So there you go. We've made no progress here because the ransom notes are fake. That's why they've made no progress. When you focus on a bogus lead and you spend 6 months on that bogus lead, well, you're not really going to go any further than that bogus lead. That's why we use common sense when we don't know the answers. We use common sense. So that's kind of our round out for the day, guys. What do you think? We got some good news here. The question is, do we believe it? Let me take a poll here. How many of you guys believe that swath of DNA, that large amount of collected DNA is the suspects? Like I feel this good news, but I'm waiting for the shoe to drop. You know? Hey, Jess Jules, Rhythm, it's nice to see you. If you guys didn't hear earlier today, I wanted to say this again, and the real Me Too, if you don't mind dropping the link for Pretty Little Clues. Again, Pretty Little Clues, we did a story on the photo of January 11th. I know that I received an email and I downloaded it. By the time I had the show set up and everything like that, I forgot where it came from, is the reality of it. And so I never talked about Pretty Little Clues, but Pretty Little Clues gave us that story and provided us those photos of the guy in the hat, you know, outside of Nancy Guthrie's home on the 11th. And that was a very interesting show we did. And I hope you guys go back and watch it because it was really good. It was really, really good. We are doing 1 or 2. Are we doing 1 or 2? Oh, we don't have to do any of that. I don't know. I guess you can just raise your hand or just type. I don't know. Undecided, not sure. Do we believe him? I guess, well, if you believe, let's do it. Yeah, let's do 1s and 2s. You're right, Veronica. Let's say 1s you believe him, 2 you do not. 1s you believe him, 2 you do not. I don't know if I believe Chris Nanos or not. Are we getting closer? Is this really the suspect's DNA? Is this another person in the house DNA? Or is this Nancy Guthrie's? You know? is this Nancy Guthrie's? Is this a large swath of DNA and then it's going to be tested and come back to being just Nancy's? I don't know. So we've got a mix already. Oh no. Like, I'm hopeful. Okay, so we got some people believing one, not believing two. So never believe a word he says. Coffee is brewing. Bring me some. Bring me some. 1 and 2. Okay, so I get the 1 and 2. The real me too. I think that's, I don't know, serious. Yeah, I get it. Yeah. 1, 2. So we got some 1, 2s. So you kind of iffy. You know, we know that he's a liar, but this was really promising. At this point, I would be both 3. Option 3. OG created a new option. It's option 3. 1 and 2 is now option 3. So we have our, you know what I guess we can say about this? Just by the answers that we're receiving, there's a lot of distrust when it comes to Chris Nanos. I think that's an accurate statement. I think just by your responses and, you know, stuff like this, I hope that this comes back to the subject. I just want a break in this case so bad. To be honest with you, I'm fatigued over this. I want this case. I want somebody in jail, and, you know, just for us to have some closure here. And I'm sure the family is ready to have some closure. This is one of the craziest cases. I mean, the Idaho 4 at the time was crazy. And while it doesn't rise to that level of attention, I mean, that was 4 University of Idaho students slain in the middle of the night while they slept. I mean, that was pretty brutal. I don't think anything's going to quite take that type of attention. But this is coming pretty close. This is taking a lot of attention. And to see this stuff all going on in front of the scenes, let's be honest, the back and forth, the infighting between the FBI and Pima County, it was well known. It was well documented publicly. I don't think that was the best use of resources. I don't think that was the best use of media at the time, you know, to point the fingers, especially in light of this lady still being gone, this lady still being missing, nobody knowing we don't have a body and we don't have a human being that is Nancy Guthrie. So, you know, I'm a time and a place person. Like, I think that the truth needs to come out. I think people needed to know about Chris Nanos. I think we all did. It was very informative to learn about Chris Nanos, and it's quite scary. Because if we have a Chris Nanos in Pima County, how many other Chris Nanos do we have around this country? That always worries me. Because I know if we have one, we have more. And so do you. And so do you. How many other people have been able to lie and make it to a sheriff or somebody higher up in an organization that is truly a criminal, and a violent criminal at that? Because they were never held accountable, because most likely they were never held accountable because the counties couldn't afford to hold them accountable. If their citizens held this officer accountable, they would have been pulling up thousands, if not millions of dollars in lawsuit money. And some of these smaller counties, especially 40 years ago, they didn't have that type of money. So they swept a lot of crap under the rugs. Now they're taxing us out of the wazoo. They have plenty of money. They have more money than they'll ever need. Actually, they're starting to send it overseas. They have so much of our money. So a lot of differences now than 40 years ago. Nancy deserves justice. She does. All of our victims do, you know. Nancy's just one of the newest ones. Like, we still have people that still need justice. Harmony Montgomery, right? He got a freaking new trial. Adam Montgomery got a new trial for killing his daughter. So we have Harmony Montgomery. She needs justice. We got Summer Wells that never has gotten justice. Still needs justice. We have Sebastian Rogers that's still missing. We don't know what happened to that young man. And and the people that were around him need to be arrested. These kids are missing. There's no arrest. There's no justice for them. And it's pretty sad that we're going to have justice for newer cases than our older cases. All of these cases are going to probably be resolved before Summer Wells or Sebastian Rogers is. And it's very upsetting for me to have that theory. And it's so hard for us to trust Chris Nanos because he's a pathological liar. And like right now, we want to be excited. We want to get up and clap like, oh my gosh, we got, finally, we got some DNA. We got some real DNA, folks. And we're all sitting here waiting for the shoe to drop. Is it really DNA or is he stretching the truth? Is this from her house, or are we going to find out that the swath of DNA is from something that they found in the desert that doesn't even belong to her? You know, I'm still just waiting for the shoe to drop. And I think many of our audiences, you know, is too. And I think that's the reason what provoked the 1-2 is because we're all sitting here, we're hoping that we got some DNA on this guy, right? We're all hoping. We've got a Hail Mary and, you know, we now know who this is. Let's go find the guy, right? Let's go bring him to justice. So we're all hopeful for that because most of us are just ready for this case to be resolved. We're tired of talking about this case. We're tired of all the fighting back and forth and, you know, professionals coming out. Like the professionals are all off. All the content creators have their own opinion. Nobody is copacetic. Nobody is consistent. Nobody is giving us any information, and everybody's kind of all over the map. That's the way I kind of look at this situation right now. So I'm thinking that, you know, just some type of evidence that is undisputable would at least, it may not resolve the issue right now. It may not bring this subject to handcuffs and jail, but at least we know we can just give that sigh of relief and know finally something moving in the right direction. And that's where I'm at. That's where I want to be. I want to be in that point where we're finally moving in the right direction. Right now, even with all of his statements, we still don't believe that this is active. Some of us still believe this case is like ice cold. Even with him saying, no, it's hot. It's a hot tamale, right? It's a hot tamale. Many of us want to believe that, but we're preventing ourselves from fully buying in. And it is a direct result of our distrust of Chris Nanos. Anyways, guys, that's our talking point. Let me know what you think. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the Bullhorn Betty channel. You can comment in the box if you made it this far and you're part of our replay crew. Thank you, guys. We appreciate you being here. We appreciate you being part of the conversation. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up button and leave a comment in the chat. If this is the first time you're coming across Bullhorn Betty, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Change that bell to all so you don't miss great content. Sometimes we're a little spicy on here. Sometimes we're a little erratic. And sometimes we just bring you pretty damn good content. So stick around. We'll be back. We'll be back a little later this afternoon to talk about any of the other changes in this case or other cases we are talking about. We appreciate you all being here. And for the people that participated this morning in our chicken and egg conversation, I do appreciate you. I do appreciate you. Captain Kid, thank you for the stars. OG Jitter, KMH, Lisa B, always, Aletha, Chad, Lori, Rose, and Melanie. Thank you all. Big round of applause to all of you. I thought it would be fun. I was gonna go, you know what? The chicken and the egg came after I was gonna go. The trivia question, the original trivia question, was going to be this day in our history, what happened? And so we had 4 major things this day in history that happened. And so I was going to write all of them out, A, B, C, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? And it was going to be this date, this date, this date, this date, or none of the above, or all of the above. I wasn't sure how I was going to do that. And it was going to be all 4 were going to be absolutely correct. So it was going to be all of the above. That was going to be the answer. But the problem is after I wrote down the first one, which was Eisenhower signed the act for our aerospace, national aerospace, this day in 1968. In 1968, I think is what it was. So there was that, and there was a couple other things, but once I wrote it out, it cut it off. I could only get option 1 and option 2 drafted, and I'm like, this is too long. It's not going to let me put it in here. So I decided, and the last administrative decision that I made today was chicken or egg. I figured that's the one thing that has stumped me for 46 years. We would throw it to the audience and see how well they did. And guess what we got? We got about 3 people that said the chicken came before the egg, and we got at least 2 or 3 people that said the egg came before the chicken. So guess what? The question whether the chicken or the egg came first, still that debate rages on. So you guys have an amazing day. We'll be back here later this afternoon. God bless. I hope I sent you off to work or started your day on a happy note. We'll see you back here real soon.